Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Look Back, where I take a look at reviews I did a year, 5 years, and 10 years ago and tell you what I think about them now. So we'll start with reviews I did a year ago. So I took a look at two very big Kickstarter games. First, we have the City of Kings. This one is a big adventure game, resource management, and yet it somehow managed to feel smaller than the game was. And incidentally, didn't feel very thematic, but also felt a little clunky, like it's a big puzzle you had to solve. There was not like diversity amongst what you could do. I didn't feel like the game had a whole lot of options. It just didn't feel finished. And on that same line, Feudum. Feudum is another game that very big Kickstarter. In fact, it just successfully launched its expansion as a Kickstarter. This one, it felt like it just didn't have any development done on it, in the sense that they put a whole bunch of stuff in and didn't cut any of it out. And so therefore it feels clunky and overwrought in many areas. There's some really cool ideas in it. How all the guilds work together is a pretty neat idea. There's just too much for me to enjoy it. Island Hopper is an interesting game in which you are kind of closing your eyes and dropping guys off on islands, and people are giving you directions occasionally, but they may or may not be misleading you. It's a really weird, unique style game. Then we have Pit Crew. There was a couple games that came out last year with Pit Crew. This is the lesser known one from Brazil. It's a speed style game trying to change your tires and match things. That was fun. Ion, a compound building game. This is a drafting style game from Genius Games. So they take a very common mechanism, drafting, and mix it with science, and I really like the combo that put together. Smash Up, the 70s version. This is one of the expansions for Smash Up. If you want disco warriors in your group, there's some interesting stuff in this one. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I like almost any expansion for Smash Up. Dispatch by Breakout. This is a very unique game. Dispatch is a game which you get a box and you're trying to solve a murder mystery. We went over the very first one. You need to use the internet. They're fake web pages, but also real web pages. It's had some really cool, unique ideas in it. It's essentially just just a few puzzles in the game, but there's a ton of reading material. And then it starts off a serial story where you're going to go through and follow them. And I haven't really followed up on this. We keep meaning to go and do the second one, but you have to get the same people together, and then we would forget everything from the first one. So we'll do it eventually, I think. Then we have, Clank, the Mummy's Curse. This was a good expansion for Clank. I like Clank a lot anyway, and adding a mummy in and just added a few small minor things, which made the game very fun. Drop It. This game keeps going up for me. I must have played this game 100 times last year in different situations. Works well with 2, 3, and 4. Simple game of dropping geometric shapes in and scoring, and it's done so well. Really, really enjoy this one. And also Time Arena. This is a game most people haven't heard of. A real-time 2-player game, but just absolutely love this game. As you just have a few characters, you flip timers when you can move them, and you're attacking each other. Very simple game, and I hope to see it reprinted at some point. Now let's take a look at 5 years ago. First we have Give It to the King. This was a game in which you're racing to be the first person to deliver a message to the king, and it's just extremely boring. Unfortunately, that makes for a game I don't like. I also took a look at Assassin's Creed Arena. So Assassin's Creed, very popular video game franchise. The board game here was not bad, and that's still kind of my viewpoint on it. It's not bad. It's an interesting one. You're trying to run around. Probably could use better components. Nations. This one I dropped a bit because while I think the game is really cool, it's overly long. There's just way too much going on in it. It's way too long of a game. But there's a lot of neat mechanisms, but I'll just rather play Nations, the dice game, which came out a couple years later. And then Smash Up Science Fiction. Now, Smash Up Science Fiction, this expansion, as I mentioned the 70s earlier, this Smash Up Science Fiction is amazing. It's a really fun one. It has one of my favorite factions in it, the shapeshifters who can copy other people. I love them. And I just love the whole sci-fi theme of this one, like the ants with the titles of the cards. There's just a lot of cool stuff in this. That's really cool. So those are reviews I did 1 and 5 years ago. 10 years ago, unfortunately, no reviews. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel. This has been Look Back on the Dice Tower.